The Top Floor Please podcast, where women in leadership rise together. I'm your host, Melissa McCormick, executive coach and founder of the Grace and Salt Leadership Academy. This is your space to find clarity, grow in confidence, and lead with bold authenticity. Whether you're navigating the boardroom, building your team, or stepping into new territory, you're not alone. Let's talk real challenges, real growth, and real leadership because the top floor isn't just a place, it's a mindset. Alrighty then, let's get started.
All right, all right. Here we are. Welcome back to the Top Floor Please podcast. Um, just going to start out a little bit with a question. There's a question many times many strong leaders quietly ask themselves just at some point in their career. So I don't know if this is, if you've clicked on this podcast because this is been what you've been wondering, like why am I not in that room? Literally, why are you not in that room? You know the room. You know the room, the boardroom, the president's office that has the big long board table in it. Or you walk past the boardroom and executive leadership is in there and they're having some strategy session. Why am I not in that room? I'm delivering results. I'm leading my team. Nobody seems disgruntled. I've worked here for a long time. I'm doing everything that's expected of me. So what's missing? Right? What separates me from them? Like what separates the leaders who are invited to the executive table from those who are still waiting outside of it? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa McCormick. If you have not been following me, I'm an executive coach, leadership advisor, and the founder of Grace and Salt Leadership Academy. I work with leaders who are buried in the day to day, leaders who are capable, experienced, and trusted, but somewhere along the way, their calendar, started running them instead of the other way around. I help them simplify things, get out of the weeds, and start running the business so the business doesn't run them, right? Which is the way that it is. Now, we're going to talk today about why you're not in the room and how to get there. So the first area that I want to kind of touch on is that misconception about getting a seat. Most leaders believe if I perform well, I'll be noticed. If I work hard, I'll be promoted. If I hit my numbers, I'll be invited in. And that was me. That's kind of my story. If you haven't heard it before, I worked in corporate America for 32 years, worked my way from entry level to executive, but it didn't go straight up, right? It was this, that, it went like this, of course. But I honestly thought for, I don't even know how many years, I counted it at one point, but probably 15 years when I got to mid management. I really thought, but I stalled. I stalled out there. I thought that if I really worked hard and I showed everybody how passionate I was of the company and of our customers, how I was leading my team, how I was doing all the things, somebody would tap me on the shoulder and say, Melissa, you're so amazing. We're going to give you a promotion. I thought that's what would happen. I thought that's how it happened. I didn't know I had to ask. I really did not know that. And that's a whole nother conversation. At the executive level, though, that criteria changes. And it's not about performance, it's about perspective. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. You don't earn a seat at the executive table by doing your job well. Do you need to do it well? Yes. But that's not how you get there. You earn it by showing you can lead beyond your job. Showing that you can lead at an executive level outside of your function. You don't protect things. You're more like, okay, what's for the greater good? Because executives are actually evaluating this. And this is one of the, I guess, one of the values that I'm trying to bring to leaders through this podcast is an understanding of how executives think. I want to teach you how your boss thinks so that you can be the best value to your boss. So when your boss moves up, it's obvious you move right into that position. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to help you do. Executives are constantly assessing, constantly. Can this person think at an enterprise level? Can this person handle ambiguity? Ambiguity, like what happens when things are gray? Can they make decisions that impact more than their function or their department? And do they bring clarity or do they create noise? Is your energy calming and clear? Or is it chaotic and oh, the sky is falling? Right? These questions, they all tie back. If you're curious about them at all, they tie back to previous sessions. One on influence, one on let's get out of the weeds, and then thinking like an owner. This is the whole, it's been a kind of a series that we've been putting together. Executives are not just evaluating results. They're evaluating readiness. Why is that important? It's important for you to know that because if you want them to see you as being ready, you need to know how executives think so that you can start thinking about that. Right? Here's 3 ways that leaders earn a seat at the table. 1, they think enterprise. When I say enterprise, I'm not talking about the Starship Enterprise. I'm talking about the company. They think about the organization, they enterprise thinking, not functional, not department. So they think about the overall greater good of the organization and not just about their department. They connect those decisions across departments. Okay? So and they openly talk about that. They consider downstream impact. So let's just hypothetically say you're in a meeting and it's a strategy meeting and you're talking about some decision that the service department's making and you're in sales. But you're thinking, now wait a minute, if we do that, how does it impact warranty? How does it impact finance? Like I'm one, and you're sharing this, even though it's not in your lane, but you're sharing, like, let's think about this from a holistic perspective. If we make this decision, how does it impact these other departments? Now, maybe somebody could say, well, we've already thought about that. Excellent. I just thought I'd bring it up because I'm curious, right? Or maybe they hadn't thought about it and somebody says, oh, that's a good point. We should really think about warranty impacts because I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the warranty department is going to code these, or I'm not sure how the warranty department is going to manage this additional workload. Those types of things. They speak in terms of business outcomes. So my question to you is this: are you bringing a departmental update or a business perspective? As you're coming to the table, maybe it's an extended leadership meeting. So it's not just the executive leadership, but it's the next level down, and you're a member of that next level down. Are you bringing, here's what, you go around the room. That's typical. And if you're on Zoom, you go around the squares on your screen and you give an update. So are you giving an update or are you giving a business perspective? Are you giving an update that shows this is how we've impacted the overall business? These are some challenges that we have, and they impact other departments. So we're going to have a cross-functional team meeting discussion on how we can manage all of this together so that the customer is not impacted, or the overall company. Now, what I'm saying brings up an interesting thought, and you could be thinking this right now, and that is, but sometimes I'm told to stay in my lane. Yep, that's true. That's true. Sometimes you're supposed to stay in your lane. Okay. Think about who told you that. Did the big boss tell you that? Then you better stay in your lane. Did somebody else tell you that? Is it your approach when you're in a meeting and you're sharing about other departments? Does it come across as you're throwing a grenade over the wall because you're trying to distract from whatever's going on in your department? Or are you genuinely interested and you genuinely want to solve this problem? Are you adding value to the conversation? Are you just trying to show everybody you're in the room? I mean, that's the thing. And again, if you're listening to this podcast, my guess is you're self-aware or you want to be, which means you need to look in the mirror and really ask these questions. And the next time that you're in that room, in a room with executives, whether that's 1 or 10, and those could be executives from your customers as well, not just in your organization, depending on your role. I want you to think about, how are you showing up? What language are you using? Are you saying me, my, I? Or are you really, truly thinking about the enterprise? So the first way that leaders are in the seat is that they think enterprise and not functional. So they think about the organization and not about the department. The second way is they bring clarity and not complexity. This is important because executives, they're busy. And sometimes people think that the higher up you get into the organization, that you need to use big words and you need to, name drop some books that you've read and all this stuff, which you don't at all. Executives, they want simple, 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 simple. The KISS method. Keep it simple, Sally, instead of the word stupid, right? Executives value leaders who simplify things and know about prioritization. We cannot do they don't want yes people or yes men. They don't want people just to say yes because the president has said it. Do you know the story of the emperor has no clothes? Right? Emperor's marching in the parade down the street. Nobody's telling the emperor he doesn't have any clothes on. In fact, they're just accolades about the robe and how awesome he is, but he's naked because nobody wants to tell him. Don't be that person. Do not be that person. Be the person who can simplify a complex problem. Be the person who can prioritize according to the right prioritization of the moment. Make decisions clear, not complicated. First of all, you'll never get your team on board if they're complicated. Those 3 things alone, executives value the most in their leaders. Now, they don't like leaders who over-explain, use way too many words, that bring problems without direction or solutions. Definitely don't like do that. I had a boss one time. Well, not one time. He was my boss for many, many, many years. But he'd have his reading glasses on and then he'd be like, so what? That was his thing. You had to come with the so what because you knew he was going to ask it. You couldn't just come and say, okay, here's the situation and throw a dead fish on his desk. No, you had to come and throw the problem, but yet here's the solution. I just want you to know. Or I'm having a problem figuring out which direction I should go. Which should I go? Should I go here or should I go here? What do you think? And then the next time I know which way I'm going to go. And so then I don't even have to bother him. They don't like leaders who bring noise, that add noise. Do you know what I mean by that? Like people that either they like to hear themselves talk, maybe there's a little gossip in it. Maybe they're throwing some other leader under the bus. We don't like to do that at all, right? They're adding noise to the situation. They don't need added noise. And so therefore they are not going to be attracted to you like a magnet is what I mean. I don't mean any other term of attracted. I think you get it, right? They're going to seek you out because they know you can help solve problems. But if you bring noise, if you overcomplicate things, if you overspeak and overshare and all the things, they're going to not invite you into the room. They don't want you in the room because it's going to take too much time and they don't have time. They want things simplified. They want to know how to prioritize. They want you to come up with the answers. Clarity, clear, consistent, simple. That's what they're looking for. Now, the third way is they show is that leaders will show judgment under pressure. So this is a big one. Executives watch how you respond when things go wrong, how you respond. Let's just say that it's something negative to you personally. Um, this happened to me. Let me just tell you a little story. Let's just say that at one point, I'm mid-management, maybe a little bit higher than that, probably director level. And I'm out of town, I'm at a trade show, I get a call from my boss, and my boss says, "Hey, we just hired a person who's going to come on board and they're going to work within the sales department." Uh, okay. Isn't that my job? Right? So I was confused. So fine, you're going to do what you're going to do. So they did. It all worked out. My point is this. My point is that when things happen out of your control, it's how you respond that executives watch. Now, I literally do not believe that they hired this person to see how I would respond. It wasn't about me at all. It was more about this person and what value could they bring to the organization. That's what it was about. It had nothing to do with me. But if I would have responded negatively, like I might not have said the words I was thinking, but I didn't continue to work to the level that I normally did. Like maybe I just started to shut down, or maybe I started to sabotage things. You know, if I would have responded like that, executives watch it. And then they would have known she's not ready and she's not executive level. I was a director at the time. When I left corporate, I was a senior vice president, one of the top 3 in the organization. Executives are always watching how you respond when things go wrong, when things are your fault, when maybe somebody else gets a promotion and it should have been, you think it should have been you. They're watching. They watch how you handle tension. They're watching whether you escalate appropriately or if you overreact. Are you Henny Penny? You remember Henny Penny? I'm dating myself now, I know. But that was a childhood book of The Sky is Falling, or The Little Boy Who Cried Wolf. It's another book, very similar. Are you overreacting or are you escalating things appropriately? Your leadership is most visible when things are uncertain. And that's what you have to remember. That's what you have to remember. So those 3, I want to go through them again. 3 ways leaders earn a seat is you think enterprise. Okay, you think about the greater good of the organization. You bring clarity. You know how to prioritize. You simplify things. You add value. You do not add noise. And finally, you show judgment under pressure. How you respond tells executives everything. Everything. Now, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. The behaviors that keep leaders out. So this is leaders who don't get invited, okay? This is important for us to not only know the behaviors of those who do get invited, but the behaviors for those that don't get invited. Those are the leaders who stay in the weeds. They're in the day-to-day. They can't get out. They don't know how to delegate. They're really struggling with that. They bring problems without solutions. Remember my boss who used to say, "So what?" Right? Those are my glasses. Taking them down. So what? Bring the so what. Bring the solutions. Right? Leaders who don't get invited do not bring solutions. They think only about their function. They need constant direction. Constantly going to their leader saying, "What do I do about this? What do I do about this? What do I do about that?" Critical thinking is something that is difficult for these people, for these leaders. They struggle with decision making. If everything still runs through you, or you're still waiting for direction, executives, they won't see you as ready yet, and you won't be invited. Now, I've been thinking about this as I was preparing for this podcast. And I was thinking, when did this happen for me? Like, when did I when did I figure it out? And I'm really not sure. I believe it happened gradually. I was very fortunate to have strong leaders, around me that most of them led with the enterprise thinking perspective. So that really trained me. Um, you know, I used to ask my team when they'd come to me with a decision, I'd ask them two questions. I'd say, is it good for for the customer? First question. Is it good for the company? Second question. We had to answer those two questions in that order. Because if it was yes for the customer and no for the company, we still might do it, but we might not. We might have to tweak something, but never once was, is it good for me in that sequence? Is it good for the customer? Is it good for the company? Those were the two questions, and those needed to be yes. But if it was no for the company, sometimes we would still do it because it was the best thing to do. I've seen so many people lead with ego, where the reason behind their decision had more to do with their advancement or recognition, if you will, than it did about the company's overall success. I saw those people come and I saw those people go. It did not serve them well. That's why I am so passionate about servant leadership and serving as as Jesus, quite honestly, right? He was the ultimate servant leader. But this isn't something that happens overnight. So as I'm thinking through this, I'm like, it's a maturity, I guess. It's a confidence. It's a mindset shift. It takes time. It takes intention, and it means let go of your ego. Okay? Relax and I'm not saying you should relax. I say relax. I don't mean that you should relax and let the chips fall where they may. That's not what I'm saying. Because I also will tell you need to be intentional with your career. Right? You need to be intentional with your career plan or how to get to the executive seat. But I want you to think about what's good for the company first, because you're going to get there as you spread your thinking to enterprise thinking. It's going to be an obvious choice when your boss moves on for you to move up. So when you're sharing with others, I want you to be sure that you are genuinely thinking about the company, and you're not just saying that because you're going to, ride the wave or get on the coattails, and then it's going to be all about you, because then your the reason behind it is more about manipulation than it is about the overall company. I hope that makes sense, because that's a really critical piece of this message. So just as we, getting ready to close here, I'm going to leave you with some questions, because this is kind of what I've been doing lately. I want you to think about this. Do you think like an owner or like an operator? Do you bring clarity or do you bring more complexity, meaning noise or confusion because you're making things so complex? Do you anticipate issues or do you react to them? And finally, would an executive trust you with broader responsibility today? Would an executive trust you with broader responsibility today? Again, I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to really have an introspective kind of discussion with yourself, because that's the only way to know where you're at. So the only way to know where the gaps are and where you can spend some time coaching yourself or developing yourself. So, all right, as we close, here's the one question I want you to consider. If you were already in the room, how would you show up differently? Okay, so if you're already in that room, how will you show up differently? Here's why I asked that question. A seat at the executive table isn't something you ask for. It's something you earn through how you show up every day. It's how you think. It's through how you lead and through how you make decisions when others are watching. Interesting, right? The leaders who are invited into those conversations are not waiting to be asked. They're already operating at that level. They're thinking about the business. They're bringing clarity. They're taking responsibility before it's formally given to them. As long as you're not stepping on toes, remember, we'll talk about politics another time. Well, if today's conversation resonated with you at all, here are three things that I'd like to invite you to do. First is I want you to subscribe. Subscribe so you do not miss a future episode. Second, I want you to share this episode with a leader who's ready for the next level. Finally, if there's anything that stood out, send me a DM. Let me know. I always appreciate hearing how these conversations show up in your leadership. And if you're listening and thinking, hey, this is exactly where I am, I know I'm capable of more, but I'm not being seen at that level yet, then that's exactly what I do. I've got a couple executive coaching spots open. Please give me a call. I'd love to go through the program with you to see if it's a fit on both sides. Right. I help you get out of the day to day. And that was one of the executive tips that I gave you is you got to get out of the day to day. You got to learn how to delegate. And that's what I do. That's what I do. Leaders who are ready to step out of the weeds, get where they need to be, build some confidence and executive presence. I will help you learn how your boss thinks so that when your boss is promoted, it's a no-brainer that you will then step up as well as if that's what you're looking to do. Now, leadership at this level is not about doing more. It's about thinking differently and showing others you're ready for what's next. All right. Well, that is it for today. I hope you have a fabulous day in whatever you're doing. And, until next time, keep leading with grace and salt.
Thanks so much for hanging out on the top floor. If today's episode gave you something to think about or a little boost, share it with your friends to keep the momentum going. And hey, if you're ready to rise, find your voice, and lead with clarity and confidence, we'd love to connect with you. Reach out at graceandsaltleadership.com to learn how Grace and Salt can support your growth. Remember, you don't have to lead like everyone else. Just lead like you. All right, I'll see you next time on the top floor.